Et bonjour YouTube et bienvenue dans cette nouvelle VOD sur Starfield. La dernière fois on a fait une petite course à travers le système solaire pour retrouver ce membre de la Vanguard qui avait apparemment trouvé merde. Ce qu'on cherche là, les artefacts pour Constellation, pour notre quête principale. Et donc on retourne sur New Atlantis pour montrer ça à la loge. Et en plus on en profitera pour montrer un petit peu, pour aller parler à la tête dirigeante de l'UC. Entamer les négociations pour récupérer accéder aux archives pour la quête des horrimorphes. On y revient tout le temps à New Atlantis. Ba-da-pa-pa-pam.
Hell of a city, isn't it? There's nowhere else like it in the galaxy.
C'est une bonne chose ou une mauvaise chose du coup?
We have it.
Now this,
Go ahead.
this is history. Would you look at this?
J'ai papa et maman.
I assumed it was all right.
I hope you don't mind, but I figured the lodge was just a gnat stop away. I just had to see it.
Oh, this place is everything I imagined. Do you know I dreamt of joining Constellation when I was a girl?
Toi, tu voulais rejoindre Constellation?
I have some vids of when I was 12 in my Constellation Halloween
Et ça ressemble à
outfit.
quoi?
So embarrassing. But I found space so fascinating that there is still so much we don't know. I guess I still find it that way.
Je ne te pensais pas si aventureuse, maman.
I don't know if I go that far. But I'll let your father talk before he bursts.
I was playing poker with the Dean of Engineering, and he had this collectible revolver framed. And when he heard you were in Constellation, well, we worked together to get the piece clean and restored. She fires beautifully now. We, took turns sighting it at the range.
I swear your father was acting like a school kid.
As I was saying, may I present to you Sir Malcolm Livingston's personal sidearm. All the special modifications just as he left him.
Dr. Livingstone?
He was chair of Constellation
No.
about 50 years ago. Anyway, it's yours.
Sir Malcolm Livingstone, c'était qui?
Oh, I'm no expert, but he was some sort of wealthy entrepreneur. Near the end of his life, he grew fascinated with space.
Ah,
He wound up
Elon
being
Musk,
a
quoi.
benefactor of Constellation and
Ah.
chaired it before he died.
Peut-être pas
The
du coup.
stories make him seem colorful.
Peut-être du
I
coup.
think I'd like him.
Peut-être pas du coup. La prochaine fois que je flingue quelqu'un... Je ne sais pas quoi dire, j'en prendrai le plus grand soin.
I hope it keeps you safe. If not, maybe get a good place for it on a mantle. Well, we'll let you get back to it, but, Miss Noel said we could look around a little first.
Ah oui, oui, faites-vous plaisir.
Ms. Noel, would it be all right if I brought cookies next time?
Actually, Mr. Cookies. What type?
I make 'em mean.
Allez,
Yes, I think that would be quite
j'ai mis le nouvel artefact.
Just spiked a bit, but it's restabilized.
Ah mais eux aussi ils en ont trouvé en fait.
No, it's
No?
the same as before. There's a massive output as the artifact is added. Then it harmonizes. Like it's waiting for the others.
That's speculation, but I think you're right. We need more. Here. You've earned this.
Tu me parles à travers le mur.
Welcome to Constellation. As a full member this time.
Ah, j'en faisais pas encore partie entièrement. Être membre effectif, ça implique quoi?
Honestly, this just makes it more official. Call it right person, right place, right time. But once the artifacts started coming together, you were one of us.
One of us. Attends, merde. je m'attendais à une... C'est un honneur de faire partie du club.
We're going to do great things together. All of us. By the way, how would you like to keep traveling together?
Oui, mais à condition
I'm
que tu
not
sortes de
sitting
derrière la
behind
porte.
my desk for this. These artifacts are a new chapter for Constellation, and I'm going to be out there for it. And I want you out there as well. You got results. I need someone like you watching my back.
Avec plaisir, Sarah. Retournons-y.
All right. We've got a few more leads we should talk about. First,
Sarah a
there's an
adoré ça.
expedition that Samco has been putting together. It's in Freestar Collective Space, and he knows it inside and out. There's also the Eye, our star station in orbit. About time for you to meet Vladimir. He's been hard at work tracking down more anomalies. And last but not least, Noel. Have we heard anything from Barrett
Oui, c'est
yet?
vrai que ça fait un bail quand
A
même.
courier from Argos Extractors came by to let us know they're packing up the operation on Vectera. But that's it, no other word.
That's not good. We should get over there and check on Barrett in person.
Maintenant avec la quête, le vieux quartier est terminé, vous pouvez congédier Sarah Morgan. Qui est ce Samco et en quoi consiste son expédition?
Oh, that's right. He wasn't here when you first showed up. He should be back by now. I'll let him handle the introductions. If I steal his thunder, I'll never hear the end of it.
Que savez-vous de Barrett exactement?
His mind is always somewhere, but there's no arguing his knack for being in the right place at the wrong time. Oh, too bad he couldn't see the artifacts coming together. But knowing him, he'll be so excited when he gets a look, it won't occur to him that he's missed anything.
L'Iris, qu'est-ce que c'est? Qui est Vladimir?
We maintain a star station in orbit above us. It's where we do all our deep space scanning. Vladimir runs the station. Brilliant astronomer. Years of practical experience.
Alors, que devrais-je faire en premier?
It's all important, but if you want a direction, I'd grab Barrett first. He's not just an old friend. He's been all over the settled systems.
Comment saviez-vous qu'il y avait un artefact sur Vectera?
You can thank Barrett for that, if he's still around to thank when this is all said and done. Honestly, he took this seriously before any of us. It was at his urging that we started doing deep space scans. I will admit, it was something of a shock to see Barrett taking anything seriously.
Je peux vous poser quelques questions personnelles?
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
Non, c'est bon.
Bye.
I hope you are satisfied with the quarters available to
Oui,
you.
très bien.
Your
Alors,
mom dropped by.
Sam.
Nice chat. She left this note for you.
Alors c'est pas lui. Lui c'est Matteo.
Ask if you've got questions. Speak up if you have ideas. We're all here.
I cannot wait to meet her. It's
Samco.
been ages since Constellation has had someone
J'ai
new.
volé quelque chose derrière lui. Ok.
And you must be the latest poor fool to get dragged into our dysfunctional little family.
Puisqu'on parle de famille, vous avez un lien de parenté?
No. Funny story, caught this one stealing my ship. Only reason I didn't turn her in is because we have the same last name.
Dad.
Alright. That's my one.
Beau gosse. Et vous devez être Samco, l'expert de la Confédération Liberastra.
Whoa. I know a few dark sides of the Aquila Moons, but if you're looking for deep history lessons, well, I'm gonna fall asleep before you do.
Vous êtes un Texan.
Trust me. Don't encourage him. Kuriko, by the way. Hi, hi.
Tu n'es pas un peu jeune pour jouer l'exploratrice?
There's no you have to be this tall sign for space.
The package may be small, but she can handle herself. You'll see.
Elle a fait une référence au... En VO, elle fait une référence au manège où elle dit il n'y a pas de panneau, vous devez avoir cette taille pour y aller. C'est un plaisir, Cora.
Nice to meet anyone brave enough to fly the frontier.
Know a thing or two about spacecraft, do we?
Hey, don't spook our new friend. Frontier's a fine ship. Honest. Now, let's talk
Je suis plus dedans de toute
business.
façon. Alors.
Sarah tell you about the expedition?
Il s'appelle le pas de cafard d'ailleurs. Elle m'a juste dit qu'elle visait la Confédération Liberastra.
Sure enough, that's where we're heading. The three of us are heading to Aquila, first settled planet of the Freestar Collective and, not coincidentally, the home of their capital, Aquila City.
Ah, Neon, c'était pas la
We'll
capitale.
land in the city's spaceports, but the frontier's our goal. It's rough country. Spawned a lot of stories. And I got a lead on a tale that makes me think one thing. Artifact.
Il y a des choses à savoir concernant Aquila.
Yeah, don't piss off the Freestar Rangers. As far as the Collective is concerned, they're judge, jury, and executioner. They're the good guys, but that don't make them any less dangerous. Outside that, just don't be an asshole.
C'est bon pour moi, allons-y.
Okay. We'll meet you on board your ship. Talk more when we get there.
Moi, j'y
Once we
viens pas
land
tout de
on
suite. Hein.
Aquila, it's gonna be you and me. So if you want to do any freewheeling before then, Cora and I will just be riding passenger.
What can I help you with? When you have a few moments,
Um,
something I'd like to discuss.
Of all the places we've lived, this is my favorite.
Poussez-vous.
I am at your service, Captain.
Alors, je sais pas si Aquila c'est une référence à Warhammer 40 000 où l'aigle qui représente l'Imperium s'appelle l'Aquila, il me semble. Je dis pas de conneries. Comme on a déjà eu une référence à Fondation avec Tossetti, je me dis peut-être qu'ils font des références à plusieurs trucs de... Alors on a plein de missions. Alors Vladimir c'est à bord de l'Iris hein. Alors c'est là qu'il faudrait que j'aille. Retournez voir Joseph. Ouais c'est vrai, ça c'est sur Neon pour le coup. Aussi. Et j'ai une activité parler à Sarah Morgan. Et aussi Kelton Frush qui est dans le coin. Danny Adams, je sais plus où c'est. Et Eric Va non plus. Si je regarde là. Rick Va c'est par ici. Kelton Frush aussi, mais on me le montre pas ça. Sarah, t'es où? Faut qu'on parle.
Thanks for giving me a moment of your time. I promise this won't take long. I thought you deserved to know how proud I am that you chose to side with the United Colonies and put an end to the Crimson Fleet.
Merci.
You've almost single-handedly saved the settled systems from one of its most dangerous enemies. I can't possibly commend you highly enough.
Je croyais que l'Union coloniale ne vous intéressait plus.
Did I mislead you into believing that somewhere along the way? Though I ended my service with the United Colonies years ago, I continue to remain vigilant as to what's going on within its borders. Anything that has a positive effect on the UC sends an equally positive effect through Constellation.
C'est un sacré compliment venant de vous, Sarah.
Well, I'm not sure I deserve that, but I appreciate it all the same. What I want to know is what motivated you into making the right decision. You had Crix's legacy in hand, and you could have easily taken it to the Key. Instead, you flew it to the Vigilance.
Je ne voulais pas trahir le commandant Ikande.
The commander is an overly ambitious man, but his heart's always been in the right place. I'm sure he appreciates everything you've done.
Et puis il allait supprimer mon casier judiciaire.
No regrets betraying Delgado then. I imagine you and he formed quite a partnership right up until the end.
Delgado n'était pas si mauvais que ça, mais la vie ne lui a pas fait de cadeau.
No, I'm sorry. I refuse to excuse Delgado for his loathsome behavior by placing all of the blame on his past.
Ok, bah...
We all have our crosses to bear,
Désolé,
but
mais...
it's how we choose to handle them that truly defines us as a person.
Tu peux pas le blâmer
I
complètement non
have to be
plus.
honest with you.
Ça veut pas dire qu'il est
It
pas coupable.
disturbs me that you would leap to his defense so quickly.
Dommage que vous désapprouviez, mais c'est ce que je ressens.
I'm sorry too. It's obvious that we'll never truly see eye to eye about Delgado.
Ouais, je vois
But
qu'on n'a pas les
instead of
mêmes
allowing this
opinions.
debate
ok.
to endlessly spiral, let's both agree that in the end, you made the right choice.
Là, ça m'a pas
I
empêché.
suppose my final concern is how long this
Désolé
newfound
de pas être un
peace will
sociopathe qui tire
last.
sur des gens au pif alors qu'on pouvait passer discrètement. Un bon moment, je pense.
Perhaps. My only
Eh
concern
oui,
are the
il
reports
reste
that
Nevemora.
Nevemora was never captured or killed. My hope is that she was smart and went into permanent exile. I suppose only time will
Oh, je
tell.
pense qu'on va la revoir à un moment ou à un autre.
Well, it appears I've soured the mood of our lovely conversation. I trust my mindless prattle hasn't been too much of a bother. Thanks for taking the time to listen.
Donc c'est ça le moral compass, c'est de dire si le mec c'est un criminel, il mérite la mort et d'être trahi et tout ça. Ça a quand même été dur, on a partagé des trucs ensemble, mine de rien, des épreuves, etc. On peut le condamner et dire bon bah voilà, et au final la justice a été rendue, et dire quand même bon, c'est pas facile.
Captain, over here.
Yes, je suis là. J'ai oublié Kelton Fresh du coup.
The workup's in the cabinet's hands. They said they'll call for us once they've gotten to properly review it. But listen, I know I should have been more forthcoming about who I was earlier. So, in the interest of full disclosure, there's one more thing you ought to know before we head up there. My relationship with the UC, it's more complicated than it might seem at first glance. The UC's actually the only reason I'm here in the first place. I am a clone of a man named Francois Sannon, one-time fleet admiral of the UC during the Colony War,
Ah ouais,
former head of the UC Navy.
ils sont forts dans le clonage
They
ou...
called him Ve Victus. Woe to the defeated, in Old Earth Latin. A title he earned. The program I was a part of, it was the UC's attempt to create a new generation of military minds from one of their most respected tacticians. Secure the leadership of the UC military for generations to come.
Vous êtes un clone, le clone d'un homme, comment est-ce que ça fonctionne?
A non-trivial amount of gene editing. Clone, honestly, isn't even really the right term for our relationship, thanks to the amount of donor material that was required to bring me into this world.
Un peu d'horrimorphes peut-être aussi, non?
He and I are different on more than a few levels, but there's no denying the fact we're inextricably linked.
Il y a d'autres membres de votre programme, d'autres clones?
I'm the last. A few of my siblings, they passed when we were young, training accidents and the like. But most of the rest were deployed to the front lines during the Colony War, and they never came back. Not a day goes by where I don't think about what the world would look like with them still in it.
Ce Victis devait être un commandant impressionnant pour que Lucé veuille le cloner.
He would have happily told you he was one of the greats. Ultimately, though, it didn't matter. The man I was cloned from, my father, was executed for acts he committed during the war. The man caused a lot of death on both sides.
Ah, bravo. Et on a voulu
Freestar
cloner ça.
Collective and UC. Military and civilians. And the things he did, well, they're a part of the reason the UC and Freestar Collective aren't really on great terms to this day. So my
C'était un fasciste, quoi.
involvement, it could be another obstacle they throw at us up there. I just wanted you to be forewarned.
Est-ce que j'ai vraiment envie d'aller au cabinet avec toi, enfin, d'aller voir le cabinet avec toi? Qu'a fait votre père pour m'aider avec l'exécution?
He had his men open fire on civilian ships during the Battle of Cheyenne. A battle that he ultimately ended up losing anyway, devastating the UC fleet and bringing the colony war to an ugly end for the UC. But he's also the one who ordered the bombing of the Londinian spaceport during their outbreak, condemning countless lives. Both sides agreed the settled systems would be better without him.
Vous n'êtes pas votre père. Si le cabinet ne le voit pas, c'est son problème, pas le vôtre. C'est vrai, mais en même temps, est-ce qu'on ne peut pas mettre toutes les choses de l'autre côté? Je peux pas vraiment les blâmer. Votre famille n'a pas l'air d'être un modèle de vertu.
That's not an unfair assessment. But what we're doing now,
Ouais,
I'm
non,
really
j'aurais
trying
dû
to set some things
prendre la
right
première
here.
option.
So your help means a lot more than I figured you might realize. I just thought you ought
On
to
se
know.
rattrapera, on se rattrapera.
You know, while we've got a second, was there anything else we needed to discuss? I know you got dropped into the middle of this pretty fast. Or if you've got any last-minute business to attend to, now might be a good time.
Oh, je les ferai après, t'inquiète.
No telling how long the cabinet's gonna keep us waiting out here.
En toute franchise, encourons-nous des risques si nous parvenons à accéder à ces données?
Eye strain from the amount of reading I've got on the horizon if we succeed. The Terramorph project never went anywhere. It couldn't. They're deadly creatures, but they aren't xenoweapons. The cabinet not opening the archives is probably a bigger risk than them handing over the files. That data itself isn't dangerous.
Va falloir faire
Which
comprendre ça.
probably wouldn't be a bad point for us to bring
Oui,
up.
mais c'est bien que tu le dises,
should
oui.
the
Que je sois un peu
arise.
à la page. Des suggestions sur ce que je devrais dire au cabinet?
Well, thinking about it more, I suspect there'd be value in sharing the fact that the
Ça, on l'a
Terramorph
déjà dit, du
project
coup.
was
Mais ça, on l'a
a
déjà dit.
failure. There's no need to be afraid of this data being weaponized. Knowing that should calm some of the cabinet's fears and make it easier for us to dispel any suspicions the other factions might have about our intentions.
Accepteriez-vous de m'en dire plus sur votre père?
I mean, we never spent a lot of time together. He was too busy being fleet admiral to deal with kids. I was raised by a pair of guardians instead. Until his defeat during the Colony War, though, he was known as an extremely effective commander. Savvy, perceptive. That mind opened a lot of doors for him. And for me too. But Ve Victus, for all his ability, was heartless. Ruthless to a fault. In the end, that's what cost him his life.
Vos yeux, ils sont rouges. C'est un effet du processus de clonage?
That's actually a souvenir from my time on
Je m'en doute parce
Mars.
que tes potes avaient les mêmes, mais j'ai
The
posé la
Red
question quand même.
Devils unit I was a part of. They were founded by recruits who'd worked some of Mars' deepest mines. Folks used to adversity. The dust at those depths, it seeps into everything. The human eye included. Where the name Red Devils came from in the first place. It became an unwritten rite of passage that anyone wanting to enlist with the Devils had to do a stint in the mines before they could join up. The Devils were always talked about in such revered tones during my training, so as soon as I was old enough, I signed up. And the eyes were my parting gift.
Je n'ai pas d'autres questions, non.
Then I guess it's just a matter of...
Ah bah c'est rapide en fait.
Sounds like our cue.
Eh bah c'est à nous. Allons-y. Ah, je sauve tellement le monde dans plein d'aspects en même temps.
Ah, Captain. Congratulations on joining the ranks of the Vanguard.
Merci, merci. Salle du cabinet Affaires interstellaires. Pas aussi grandiose que je pensais, mais ça ressemble pas mal au conseil de la citadelle dans Mass Effect.
Welcome. You must be the captain Hadrian mentioned in her report.
Sauf qu'ils sont debout là.
You have our thanks for the risks you faced in securing this information.
Dirais que tu viens de demander de la thune. Adrian a été très clair quant à l'urgence absolue de cette requête.
Oh, I'm sure she did.
Yes, well, precisely how urgent is what I hope we'll determine here today. So now, we have 2 petitioners here making a surprising request. Access to the UC Xeno Warfare Team's Terramorph data, currently housed in the Armistice archives. A request which will require not just this body's agreement, but that of all 3 Armistice signatories. UC, Freestar Collective, and House Varun. Now, Captain, we've all read Hadrian's report on the subject, but we have yet to hear from you. Perhaps you could summarize for the Cabinet what it is you see as the goal of this endeavor.
Rappelez-moi ce qui est conservé dans ces archives.
All knowledge related to the technologies banned by the UC and the Freestar Collective after the Colony War resides in the archives, including the aforementioned Terramorph data you and Hadrian are after. I want to know what you, someone with less direct involvement in the Armistice, sees as the purpose behind granting said access.
Nous avons besoin des données archivées pour empêcher une potentielle apocalypse horrimorphe.
That's quite the leap, Captain.
Et vous faites des spins rapides.
I object to the very premise of this meeting. While no one would argue that what happened on Tau Ceti was anything less than a tragedy, Terramorph attacks are not some sudden new threat on the horizon. They've been happening for generations. To demand we hand over banned archival knowledge and possibly upset the balance of galactic diplomacy because of a single attack seems at best panic. And at worst, a power grab by the daughter of a bloodthirsty warmonger and her associates.
I would remind the chief diplomat who he's speaking to. If it's my father you're looking to address, you're welcome to consult a medium. I would also ask how many deaths the Cabinet requires to act. 50? 50,000? Because if tragedies like Tau Ceti are just prelude to more attacks, I have no doubt you'll get the body count you require.
Let's keep this civil, shall we?
Non, laisse-la
While
parler.
there should be no doubt, the preservation of life stands paramount among this body's duties. Chief Yassine has a point. Will a single attack, however troubling, be sufficient to convince the other factions to grant us access to what they no doubt consider weapon data? I don't think it's enough. Perhaps you can help, Captain. As the one who actually collected the sample in question, did this Terramorph seem at all alarming to you?
En vrai, pas de ouf, hein, mais... Moi, je l'ai défoncé facilement. Je sais uniquement ce qu'on m'a dit. Ces tissus correspondaient à ceux de Londinion.
Just taking her word for it as well, then.
So it would
Oui,
seem.
bah oui, bah je suis pas scientifique, moi.
So then, Captain, given the discussion now and the information you've been privy to thus far, if you were in our position, would you grant the request made to open the archives?
Oui, le programme horrimorphe a échoué de toute façon. Ces données ne sont pas dangereuses.
It doesn't matter if it can be weaponized or not. The archives need to remain sealed for now. There's no reason to rush into a decision of this magnitude.
Mais Sarah,
That? I hadn't thought of that, Captain.
ferme-la, non?
An excellent point indeed. The other powers would likely be much more inclined to work with us knowing that. Chief Diplomat.
That point is a good one. Very well, you have my agreement. The galaxy is lucky you were here today, Captain.
You and I are in agreement, Chief Diplomat. So, if there are no other objections, I believe we can agree to give our full backing to make the request to... What was that?
Horrimorphe?
Incident. Chief Sarkin, what's happening?
There's been an attack at the spaceport. Terramorphs.
Terramorphs. More attacks. Just as predicted.
Ouais, je commence à douter moi aussi.
They're here, now.
Enfin, vous doutez de moins, mais parce que vous avez peur, mais...
The creatures evaded our scanner somehow.
There will be plenty of time for conjecture
Le timing est quand même
Chief
suspect.
Sergeant, order the evacuation of the spaceport and have your men contain the things, but do it discreetly. The last thing we need is a citywide panic.
Yes, ma'am.
Admiral Logan, the local barracks can provide support?
I'll make the order myself. Nearest anti-Xeno squad, though, is off-world. It'll take a while to bring them in.
Well then, we'll have to make do with the tools we've got. You two, we can't risk those things getting out of the spaceport. I want you both on the next train there. We'll let them know you're coming and that you've dealt with these things before. Now go show them how it's done.
We're on it, ma'am. Captain, I'm right behind you. Let's get down there.
Je peux pas, je peux pas. Ah non. Poussez-vous, bordel. S'il vous plaît, on m'a demandé de me dépêcher. Poussez-vous. Foutez-moi le camp de cet ascenseur de merde. Station Etna. Non, parce que c'est vrai que j'écoute juste ce qu'elle me dit, Adrienne. Moi, j'en sais rien, pas plus. Foutez-vous au sol. On les tue pas, on les neutralise. Tirez pas avec des armes létales. Pousse-toi Sarah, putain. Ça c'est quoi mon objectif? Neutraliser les attaquants. Donc faut leur tirer dessus au sol. Qu'est-ce qui se passe ici?
Thank you for what you did.
Bah, prenez des armes électromagnétiques, putain.
We didn't want to hurt them.
The way those people were acting. I've seen this before.
Ah, parce qu'ils font du contrôle mental, j'avais oublié ce côté-là.
I don't know. They were down at the port and they just started screaming. We tried to restrain them, get them on the train to get them out of harm's way, but some of the other officers down there, we couldn't restrain them fast enough. They just started firing on us. People we knew. They went berserk.
Pheromonic projection. Some terramorphs, they can induce this fog. It affects everyone differently, but some people just lose control, turn against everyone around them, even if they don't want to. They're like a puppet. You kill the morph, you break the hold. But this means we're gonna need to be real careful with our fire, and keep that EM weapon at the ready.
Ok. Est-ce que ça signifie que je dois me méfier de vous?
I honestly was just wondering the same thing. But no, you don't need to worry about me. I've had a terramorph try it on me before. I'm not susceptible. So we'll just have to make sure to watch out for each other down there.
Vous pensez que les horrimorphes peuvent contrôler l'esprit?
I'm not suggesting. It's documented behavior. The result of the projection, though, can vary wildly. Some folks just shrug it off. Others hallucinate. And some lose control altogether. They'll lash out at anyone around them.
Again.
But still be aware while they're doing it. Those cases, you'll either need to knock them out with EM fire, or free them by killing the terramorph.
Bon, je crois qu'il faut qu'on bouge.
Let's do it.
Nat's unlocked. Please, do what you can to help them.
Ah, parce que c'est vrai que du coup, je disais les données scientifiques, je me base uniquement sur ce que me dit Adrienne, qui travaillait sur la division Xenoarm, qui dit que ça n'a pas abouti à des résultats, mais en réalité, il faut lui faire confiance pareil. Est-ce qu'elle essaye pas d'ouvrir les archives pour pouvoir rétablir un programme de Et pile au moment où on est en train de parler de ça, paf, attaque au spatioport. Est-ce que c'est pas elle qui l'a provoqué aussi? Enfin, tu vois, faut commencer à se poser des questions quand même. Ok. Je vois les horrimorphes. Je vais balancer pierre tombale puis de balle, hein, ouais. Max shot, on en a quelques-uns. Faut y aller au gros calibre, hein, c'est quand même des bestiaux. Hein. Franchement, j'expérimente que dalle. J'expérimente juste des putains d'abominations qui me foncent dessus. Et que j'ai plus de... soins. Si, je dois avoir des kits d'urgence. Voilà. Et que je me suis bloqué dans un mur encore, putain. Ça faisait longtemps. C'est bon. Saloperie.
Wait, officer? Are you and this woman experts? Take whatever we can get right now.
Ah mais Yumi, je t'avais pas reconnu, pardon.
The remaining creatures locked down on the landing pad, but we're barely holding our perimeter. They said you've done this before. Well, one fire team to spare and whatever supplies you need, but I can't risk them taking over any more men. Get those things down and do it fast. We'll hold them as best we can. We can only spare the one fire team.
Ok, vous êtes prêts vous?
You might be looking for some backup. You say the word, we're out there on your 6.
You two have any experience with terramorphs before?
Only the brief they just gave on the way here, but we know how to handle pressure.
Surviving a full-on mental assault isn't the same as keeping your cool in a firefight. Might make you more liability than asset.
We're not UC security. You don't need to worry about us.
Et vous êtes sûr que vous n'allez pas de vous retourner contre nous?
We're not afraid, but we'll stay here and hold the line if that's what you want. You're the experts.
Je veux que vous couvriez nos arrières. Allez,
Roger that. We're on you.
C'était quoi que j'avais avant? C'était le paf-paf là. Ça j'aime bien. Ok. Sauvegarde rapide. Let's go. Ah. J'ai pas de jetpack? Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Il a pas de jetpack ce sac là. Je suis trop con. Je pensais qu'ils en auraient tous de base. On peut peut-être ouvrir le combat avec un petit tir de snipe. Non. Ah, c'est un calibre 45 ça. C'était du monde aussi. Ah, c'est exactement le même. Sauf qu'il est black. Fait pas assez de dégâts par contre cette arme. On va basculer sur le Orient. C'est pareil, c'est pas le feu. Vas-y Sarah, charge-le. Dis-lui c'est qui le chef. Allez, on est suffisamment proche. Allez, flinguez-moi ça, bordel! On a un homme à terre. Ok, un de moins. Micro-gun. Il commence micro-gun. Ouais, ça peut pas attendre un peu, Sarah? Vas-y, tu veux me parler de quoi?
Yeah. Thanks for taking the time to talk. I wanted to ask you about the artifact you found on Vectera.
Un peu occupé, non?
When you pulled it from the rock,
Hold
held
it,
it
guys.
in your hands for the first time, how did you feel?
J'ai eu des visions, j'ai entendu des sons et de la musique. C'est difficile à décrire.
No, I don't think you understand. I know about the visions, the light, and the music. How did you feel inside? What were your thoughts?
Pourquoi cette séance de psychiatrie, Doc?
If we're going to unlock the secrets of these artifacts, we're going to need more than simple empirical data. We'll need to dig deeper.
Dig deep?
It would be helpful if you'd just tell me how holding the artifact made you feel.
C'était comme si quelqu'un voulait m'attirer d'un bout à l'autre, d'un coup à l'autre bout de la galaxie.
Oh my goodness. That must have been terrifying. When it comes to the artifacts, it never ceases to amaze me how the science, well, simply fails.
Pourquoi n'en avez-vous pas parlé quand on était à la loge?
Honestly, I wasn't sure how you'd react. Some people would consider what you went through a deeply personal experience.
Je voudrais bien partager toutes mes expériences personnelles avec vous.
Oh, well, I enjoy hearing about them. Professionally, of course.
Ah bon?
Either way, we need all the help we can get. The artifacts are so different, so alien, and I'm certain one of them reached out and spoke to you. Quite the mystery.
Je n'avais encore rien rencontré de tel, et pourtant j'ai bien vadrouillé dans les systèmes occupés.
Yes, precisely. You'd think, after our combined years of space travel, one of us would have stumbled across some answers, but unfortunately, we're empty-handed.
Quel genre de données avez-vous récupéré?
Not much, I'm afraid. All I have to show for my efforts are eyewitness accounts, scores of inconclusive metallurgical test results, and wild theories.
C'est le seul projet sur lequel vous travaillez chez Constellation?
No, not at all.
Ouais, j'espère, parce que sinon vous ne m'en pas
There's
grand-chose.
so much going on there. I can't afford to divert all of our resources. But I have classified the artifacts as a priority project.
Peut-être que vos collègues ne vous aident pas suffisamment?
No, that's not it at all. Solving a mystery like this, it's an explorer's dream. Believe me, they're all as driven as I am to find an answer.
Alors nous percerons ce mystère tous ensemble.
I knew I picked the right person for the job. Look, I wanted to thank you for taking the time to talk, and for keeping an open mind. And I also wanted to say, well, I'm pleased we're on this journey together. It's the best decision I've made in quite a long time.
C'est bon, on peut retourner buter de l'horrimorphe? Parce que quand même c'est des menaces le bordel. Hop. prendre un petit kit d'urgence, moi. Pour être sûr d'être au top. Il est à l'intérieur de ce conteneur. Je m'en fous des visions. Je veux juste mitrailler ce bordel jusqu'à ce qu'il meure. Si je peux me cacher de ouf. On a perdu personne d'autre, hein.
It's over. Thank God. If these things reached the populated areas of the city, we would have had an absolute massacre on our hands.
Et ouais, on a été balèze. Et en plus, ils ont tout pété sauf mon vaisseau. Et ça, c'est quand même une chance.
You're back in one piece. I guess our people weren't so lucky.
Il y en a un qui est mort. Leur sacrifice n'a pas été vain. La ville est en sécurité maintenant.
The few protecting the many.
And it would have been plenty more if it hadn't been for the two of you. The city owes you both a debt after this.
We were just in the right place at the right time.
T'es sûr, Adrienne?
Captain, we should report back to
Ou
the
tu l'as un peu
president. Let her know
provoqué.
the terramorphs have been dealt with. Take care of yourself, Sergeant.
Il y a le hasard et il y a celui qu'on sur lequel on tombe et celui qu'on provoque, quoi. Hein? C'est ce que je veux dire, meuf? C'est un accès direct à la station de métro depuis la salle du cabinet. Mais eux, ils utilisent vraiment le métro? Ou ils ont leurs appareils personnels?
That's a relief to hear. Thank you, gentlemen. Let you... Captain? Hadrian? It would appear that the cabinet owes you our thanks for what you did for the city today. As well as an apology. Your concerns about the terramorphs, well, consider them validated.
Thank you, ma'am.
Je suis d'accord, merci.
Of course. I only wish we could have acted sooner.
On
Now,
n'aurait pas pu faire plus rapide que ça, on était
today's
tellement en
events
train de
have
vous en
only
parler.
clarified our path forward in the eyes of the cabinet. You will have our full support in collecting the terramorph data from the archives,
Ah, mais je
as
crois que
well
quelqu'un a essayé de
as a
montrer patte
subsequent
blanche.
investigation into the nature of these attacks.
Moi, c'est ma théorie.
But to accomplish those goals, we're going to need the right people in the right places. As such, the cabinet has authorized me to reinstate you, Hadrian, effective immediately, to your former rank
Comme de
of
par
Major.
hasard.
As soon as we've got the data in hand, we want you investigating these attacks and how to stop them. Will you do this?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. I'd be honored.
Excellent. But as you've both made clear, for For such an investigation to succeed, first, we're going to need someone to convince the Freestar Collective and House Varun to play ball. Someone who knows precisely the sorts of dangers the colonies and all the galaxy are facing right now. The Cabinet wants you, Captain, to be that representative.
Moi, pourquoi ne pas envoyer un diplomate, une personne entraînée pour ce genre de choses, même si bon, moi, ça
The
va.
Cabinet wants progress, and wants it quickly. You're already far more familiar with the situation than any diplomat would be. There's also no diplomat alive that can claim they helped keep a cadre of terramorphs off the embassy doorsteps.
Oui, mais c'est pas les mêmes...
The Cabinet was unanimous. They want you.
Et on peut pas être plusieurs. Je ne peux pas représenter toute l'UC, je suis juste un membre de l'avant-garde.
We see your atypical background as a strength, not a hindrance. The people you'll be dealing with, they're rather atypical themselves. In exchange, we're willing to fast-track your citizenship upon collection of the data.
Très bien.
So, will you help us?
Et que m'apportera la citoyenneté de l'UC?
It has its perks. Only citizens can purchase property in the city. We also pay reduced prices on most goods and services across the UC. There's also a credit disbursement when you first join. Help get you on your feet. But above all, you'd become a dedicated part of the greatest faction in the galaxy. If you're willing to help us, we can open that door.
Vous pouvez compter sur moi, madame.
I'm glad to hear it. Now, we, of course, won't be sending you in without the proper support. Deputy McIntyre in the Office of Interstellar Affairs will be your guide on gaining access to the archives. You should be able to find her in her office across the hall. And on behalf of the whole of the United Colonies, you have our thanks. We're dismissed.
Ok, une faction convaincue déjà. Et nouvelle compétence. Alors en social du coup. Donc j'ai mis diplomatie, d'accord. Récupération, chance de trouver des crédits supplémentaires en fouillant des containers. Le vol, non. Je vais mettre un point ici. Persuasion, j'ai pas encore réussi le nombre de défis.
Hello.
Bonjour.
These orders, a Vanguard captain. You... Yes, sir. I'll make sure they get what they require.
Bonjour, c'est moi.
That must make you my Vanguard captain. Welcome to Interstellar Affairs. I'm Deputy Chief Diplomat McIntyre, Chief Yassine's second-in-command. I heard you were instrumental in protecting the city from the attack. You have my gratitude. I was also informed that you gave quite the presentation to the cabinet.
Ouais, je suis un peu balèze,
Chief
ouais.
Yassine wants you to know the Interstellar Affairs Office is fully committed to this endeavor, accessing the Terramorph data and beyond. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure you have the tools you need. And that means first getting you into the archives. You do know what the archives are, correct?
Oui, oui, oui. Elles servent d'entrepôt à toutes les données bannies de la guerre coloniale.
Someone paid attention in current events. So, then you also know that it was originally managed by the 3 major galactic players. Access to the archives is only granted in cases of dire emergency, and requires a one-time use code from each of the 3 armistice signatories. UC, Freestar Collective, and House Varun. Now, the UC is already on board, so that means we'll need to convince 2 people. The ambassadors of the Freestar Collective and House Varun to hand over their codes.
Ah mais on va leur parler directement
Get
ici.
them both and you'll have your data. But that's
On
a
va pas aller
lot
chez eux
easier
forcément.
said than done.
Que pouvez-vous me dire sur ces codes? On ne pourrait pas en fabriquer des faux?
No. Each is a strip of several million random numbers generated on the fly based on biometric keys kept by each of the ambassadors on their person at all times. They're impossible to create without those keys, and those keys stay with the ambassadors.
meaning we're accessing nothing if we can't get them on our side.
On pourrait croire qu'ils décideraient de nous aider d'eux-mêmes après l'attaque du port spatial.
I couldn't agree more. However, both ambassadors have reasons they won't, or can't, work with us. Now, I'll provide guidance on how we believe you can acquire each code, but ultimately, it'll be up to you to get them both to cooperate.
And I do mean cooperate. Threats and violence are off the table here.
C'est pas mon style, c'est le style de Sarah par contre.
Doesn't mean we can't get creative.
But it does mean we need to get you up to speed on who you're dealing with. Who do you want to start with? Ambassador Radcliffe of Freestar, or Ambassador Balmore of House Varun?
Parlez-moi de l'ambassadrice Radcliffe de la Confédération Liberastra.
Ah, the good Ambassador Radcliffe. She's a veteran of the Colony War, and her only goal in life is to make ours miserable.
Sympa comme ambassadrice.
Now, officially, our
Ça aurait pas pu
office
choisir
is
quelqu'un d'autre.
suggesting you try and negotiate with her.
Use your experiences as a member of the military and with the threat we're facing to convince her to lend her support.
And who knows? Maybe that'll work. Stranger things have happened. But my suspicion is we're going to have to rely on other tools to get her code.
Très bien, parlez-moi de ses méthodes dans ce cas.
Certainly. See, good diplomacy is all about the careful application of pressure. We just need to find the squeeze.
Je rappelle que je suis transporteuse à la base. Hein.
UC Intelligence has a recording device planted in the ambassador's living quarters, which we suspect you can use to your advantage.
But getting caught trespassing is a quick way to land yourself in an embassy holding cell.
So,
mais après on me propose un job dans
are going to try and access the device. You're going to need to find a way in there without being seen.
Now, we recovered some intel we believe should be able to help with that. But there's also a disgruntled staff member you might be able to pump for information. Maybe even convince to work with you.
Y a-t-il d'autres choses que je devrais éviter de faire dans l'ambassade?
Yes, many. Don't steal anything. Don't get caught anywhere you're not supposed to. Absolutely do not harm anyone. If something goes wrong, we'll do our best to smooth things over, but I can't make any promises.
Que pouvez-vous me dire sur ce membre d'équipe?
Name's Cameron Long. He's younger than Ratcliffe, bears less of a grudge towards the UC. He works closely with the ambassador, making him a promising source for information on the ins and outs of embassy life, and someone who very likely hates her guts.
C'est tout ce que j'ai besoin de savoir pour l'instant sur l'ambassadrice Radcliffe.
All right. Here, your diplomatic ID. I'll give them a heads up, you're on your way. Not likely to let you through the door otherwise.
And take these. Chief Yassine wanted you to have some options on how to proceed in there.
Parlez-moi de l'ambassadeur Balmore de la maison Varun.
Ambassador Balmore's a challenge. When the rest of House Varun retreated into seclusion shortly after the signing of the armistice, Balmore stayed here. He's since lent his support to a small number of archival requests, so there's real hope he might again. Though claiming to know how a member of House Varun thinks is a quick way to earn yourself a psych eval.
Pourquoi, y a un problème avec la maison Varun?
Well,
À part le
these
dieu
days, they're
serpent.
primarily considered a security threat. House Varun Zealots, a fundamentalist outshoot of the group that stayed behind when the rest retreated into seclusion, want nothing more than to send everyone not dedicated to their cause to the great serpent in the sky. But that hasn't always been the case. After they ended the Serpent's Crusade about 70 years back, House Varun did take a real run at trying to normalize relations with the rest of the galaxy. It's why they have an embassy here in the first place, why they were included in the armistice negotiations. But then, without warning, they left, leaving behind, to our knowledge, just the ambassador and his duty under the
Ah
armistice.
oui, d'accord, ils ont pas de planète ni rien. On peut certainement raisonner avec lui, les membres de la maison Varun sont des gens comme nous.
Well said. There's no reason to assume they're any worse than us, despite their cultural beliefs.
Of course, but there is another wrinkle. We're not 100% sure Balmore's actually still alive. His public appearances were always rare. But it's been several years now since he last poked his head out. Scans of the facility show life signs, but not the kind we were expecting.
Your task is to find him and kindly but firmly remind him of his duties under the armistice.
Quel genre de signe de vie avez-vous détecté dans l'ambassade?
The Varun delegation brought more than a few of their native flora with them when they set up in the embassy. It seems those plants have been allowed to flourish, making it hard for us to verify what's flora and what's ambassador.
Attendez, personne n'est jamais entré dans l'ambassade?
The embassy is still legally House Varun's sovereign territory, so we're not technically permitted inside. We've snuck in the occasional spy, of course, but the ambassador has proven more evasive than you'd expect for a man of his age. But we're quite sure he hasn't left the city. The man stands out.
Que dois-je faire s'il est mort?
Then you search the embassy for his biometric key, collect your code piece, and we'll go about notifying his next of kin, if we can ever find them. But let's hope it doesn't come to that.
J'espère qu'on ne va pas tomber sur un cadavre.
It would at least be a speedier negotiation.
Oui, c'est vrai.
But I, of course, hope the ambassador is alive and well.
Now, the embassy front door isn't an option, but our spies have stated there's a side entrance that should allow you access. Here, this device should get you all the way down to the embassy interior. Once you're inside, though, finding the ambassador is going to be up to you. And fair warning, we received a report that alarms might have been tripped inside the embassy during the attacks. Watch out for automated security in there.
Potentiels horrimorphes,
now,
non?
If you have additional questions or require clearance for a new approach we haven't already discussed, don't hesitate to ask. I'd suggest you start with Ambassador Radcliffe. Approach her while the attack is still fresh in her and her staff's mind. Be smart out there, Captain.
Et merci YouTube d'avoir suivi cette VOD sur Starfield. On se retrouve très bientôt pour la suite où on va tenter de convaincre ces deux ambassadeurs de nous donner accès aux archives. A plus.